as a former VA rater, what is the number one thing that I used to see that could cause a veteran's claim to get stuck? And it's evidence. And that might surprise you. So in today's video, I'm going to break down evidence and how it can cause a VA claim to get stuck. Make sure you stick around. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dewayne. I got a video for that Kimble, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. Today's video, evidence. How can evidence cause your claim to get stuck? And I know a lot of veterans out there saying, Dewayne, well, we need evidence. Yes, you do need evidence. But some veterans think more is good. But those same veterans, they don't realize that VA employees own quotas. Yes, they have to meet a certain quota. So by you sending in 300, 400, 500 pages of evidence, that's not to include your service treatment records from active duty, your military personal records from active duty. All of that has to be reviewed, weighed, and considered. So when you submit a ton of evidence, it could cause a problem. Because think about it. A VA employee is on a quota. They have to meet a certain quota, and that's based off them reviewing evidence. Now, this is your claim. If you say, Dewayne, the heck with it, I'm going to submit 1,000 pages, go right ahead. But don't be surprised if 6 months pass by, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and you still haven't received a decision. That could, I'm not going to say it could be the reason. So let's go ahead and jump in and talk about some evidence. Slide number 1. Taking you back to the M21-1, this is the VA's evidence definition, okay? Again, this is your claim. You submit how many pages of paperwork or what evidence that you want to submit. In my opinion, I think more is not good, okay? Keep it short. If you just need to present a diagnosis and you know you were treated in service and then you were treated after service and you have, 10, 15 pages of progress notes, that's enough to get you to a CMP exam. Any more, like 100, 200, now that employee is looking for a needle in a haystack. So, definition of evidence. Evidence is every type of proof offered to establish a fact, okay? So then you have testimonial, your lay statement, okay? Again, short, direct, and to the point. Documentary, documents. Again, how many documents are you going to submit? I went out and got my own private medical records. When I received them, I went through them. I took out the topics or verbiage that didn't pertain to the condition I was claiming. Why would the VA employee need to see that? Okay. Real. And they give you an example. A prescription medication container may prove evidence of a diagnosis or treatment. So for example, let's just say you're claiming migraine secondary to the prescribed medication for your service-connected PTSD. Okay. You can't send in the bottle with your claim, but what you could do, you could send in that prescription from CVS or Walgreens or wherever pharmacy you received it from. So, when you go to CVS or Walgreens, you get that prescription, they put it in a bag and they clip this prescription, I don't know if it's a packet or sheet, to that bag. You can submit that. That is real evidence. And guess what? Here's a pro tip. When you go to the CMP exam, take the medication bottle, okay? All right, demonstrative. Example, a map, diagram, or reenactment. It was hard for me to try to figure out an example of this, and I still can't figure out one for this, okay? But it states evidence that illustrates testimony of a witness. So that would probably fall under like a buddy statement, okay? Direct, evidence capable of itself of providing a fact or issue. I would say a DBQ and a Nexus statement. Circumstantial, evidence that may allow the fact finder to deduce a certain fact from other facts that can be proven. All right, now, this is just my opinion or my example on this. Let's just say you submit a DBQ, actionable and sufficient DBQ and Nexus statement. Per 38 CFR 3.326 subpart B, no further examination may be necessary, but they request one. And there show a negative opinion, okay? This could fall under that particular example. And what I've been seeing, the majority of VA employees, they're rolling with their doctor instead of yours, all right? Moving right along, slide number 2. Circumstances in which to evaluate evidence. So this is something I used a lot when, with the M21, I used a lot when I was rating, okay? Because it gives you guidance and you could use this. Actually, I've used several M21-1 manual references when the QRT team, the quality team, gave me an error. And I was like, oh, no. According to M21-1, ... it states I can do X, Y, and Z. And guess what? More times than often, it was overturned and I won, all right? So now I'm giving you all the blueprint, okay? So it says verifying that a claim is properly developed and procedurally prepared for a decision involves making sure that, okay? So you can see all issues recognized, the duty to notify was discharged, the duty to assist was completed, the appropriate procedures were followed when any other due process requirement was implicated by the facts in the case. So let's look at duty to notify. Duty to notify, I'm trying to give an example because I never was a VSR, Veteran Service Representative, but I would say a duty to notify, let's say the veteran was entitled to exam, they have to notify you when and where to report for that exam. Or duty to assist if you annotated on a 526EZ or 0995 that you received treatment somewhere, okay? They have duty to assist to help you get those records. But in previous videos, what did I say? Hey, go get that evidence yourself, okay? So by now, you should know, well, if I submit tons of evidence that's gonna bog down the system and that they don't need, my claim may end up in the cloud, the VA cloud. It's not a real cloud, but a cloud where claims are kept that no VA employees want to look at because they just probably have tons and tons of evidence, okay? So help them out, veterans. Slide number 3. Attitude when evaluating evidence. Now, the reason why I added this is because a lot of veterans, they cannot tell when the rater actually put in canned text and when they actually type something in. And a lot of veterans that don't know how to recognize this, it goes unseen. So I've looked at some ratings in the past and I'm like, wait a minute, they violated this. And you can see the 38 CFR there, 4.23, attitude of the rater or adjudicator, I think it is, right? So you can, if you're able to identify it, you can point this out and bring this up on a high-level review, okay? But they are supposed to maintain objectivity, never allow personal feelings to enter into the decision-making process, show fairness and courtesy at all times to claimants. Leave me a comment. I know I'm gonna get a lot of comments, but leave me a comment if you let me know if you were treated with fairness and courtesy that they're talking about here, okay? I can tell you when I was going through this claims process, I could probably count on one hand when I felt that I was treated with fairness and courtesy. I would say 25% of the time I was. The other 75%, I wasn't. And management could care less. Management at my regional office didn't care, and management at the regional office that was handling my claim, they sure as heck did not care. All right, moving right along. Slide number 4. Here's slide number 4, rating activity responsibility for reviewing evidence. Now, some of you that probably just start following me are saying, Dewayne, what is the rating activity? Guess what? I got a video on it. But the rating activity is just raters. That's it. That's all it is. The rating activity is responsible for reviewing the evidence, okay, including. Now, evidence that we're talking about, you can find that evidence listed in the evidence section of the rating decision. So when you see all that evidence in that evidence section, that rater's saying, I looked at it. So you know how much evidence that you submitted. I've seen veterans submit 8, 9, up to 10 private DBQs. And 4 or 5 of those were musculoskeletal DBQs. Those are the longest DBQs. They're roughly what, 10, 12 pages, okay? And so you have to sit there and go line by line and look at all that information, okay? And I've seen veterans submit another 10-page lay statement as it pertains to those DBQs. So now I'm sitting there reading this stuff and I'm like, you know, what is the veteran claiming? Is the veteran claiming this? Well, I see they talked about this in the lay statement and we have these DBQs, but then they talk about something else. So at that point, I'm like, you know what? I stop. Time out. Add a deferral, send it back to a VSR, send a veteran letter and tell us exactly what he or she is claiming. All right? Again, your claim is stuck. Short, direct, to the point, tons of evidence, it may get you in trouble, okay? Wait to afford evidence that is presented, need for additional evidence, and sufficiency of and or need for physical examination. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the first one. Admissibility of the evidence. But look at the last one I underlined. Can somebody tell me what I'm about to say? Physical examination. DBQ and Nexus Statement, if you have it, why do you need a physical examination? Okay, so sufficiency of and or need for a physical examination. If you already have it, one shouldn't be needed. But this is something I've been talking about and I'm going to continue to talk about it. All right, let's keep going. Slide number 5. Here's slide number 5, provisions applied by the rating activity. So again, we're talking about raters in evaluating evidence. We're making decisions or taking action on claims that require a rating decision. The rating activity must apply the provisions of all pertinent laws and regulations. Let's just stick there for 1 second, people. Laws and regulations. This is what I've been telling people, challenging veterans, watch one of my videos a day. Because you need to understand some of these laws, some of these regulations. You hear me talk about all the time, and I know you're probably tired of hearing me saying it, 38 CFR 3.326 subpart B. When you understand that and you have an actionable sufficient DBQ, now you're able to stand on business if they do something different. And I'm seeing more and more veterans, or hearing more and more veterans win their high-level review in this particular situation. But if you don't know what the laws or regulations are, how can you win? Now, I know there's a small group of veterans that say, oh, just go get a lawyer. Just because they're a lawyer don't mean they know the laws and regulations. What are you talking about? We all know how to read. Why are you dependent on somebody else to read something that you should be reading? You can have a lawyer, but you still need to go out and find this information. And if you watch a video of mine a day, I'm giving you the blueprint. You don't even have to do the heavy lifting. I've already done it for you. If you don't even want to do that, then that means your VA claim equals denied, okay? Because you're not putting in the work. Let's keep going. Slide number 6. This is the last slide, people. Reasonable doubt. The reasonable doubt rule means that the evidence provided by the claimant beneficiary obtained on the claimant's / beneficiary's behalf must only persuade the decision maker that each factual matter is at least as likely as not. That particular sentence is the positive opinion. Reason why I bring up reasonable doubt, how many veterans use this during their high-level review and formal conference? You can use it. I'm going to give you an example. I know you're asking me, Dewayne, give me an example. I got you. You submit actual sufficient DBQ. I love using these examples. And you stand on business and say, you know what? No, I'm not going. I don't know your doctor. I don't trust your doctor. Your doctor doesn't know me. Your doctor doesn't treat me. I've gotten a DBQ from my doctor. And they decide not to use it. You refuse the exam. There it is, reasonable doubt. You can bring that up. Now, that doesn't mean automatic service connection, but you can bring it up. You can make that argument, okay? So again, understanding these regulations. And look, they give you a court case. Go out and look at it. Now, it may or may not reference what you or pertain to what you're doing with your claim. But look at that one word. I just saw it. And I promise you, I didn't see this during this research. Noted that an equipoise decision is. Equipoise. You got a positive and you got a negative. You decide to go to that exam and you got a negative. But your doctor looked at everything that their examiner looked at. And you have a positive opinion. Now that evidence is in equipoise. Make sure you go to the M21-1, do a search for it, a lot of information, and you can use that on your high-level review informal conference. Okay, so one thing that I want you to understand, I am not saying not to submit any evidence. I am not saying that. But you might want to give a moment of pause before you walk out of the house and you have a stack of evidence. Keep in mind, VA employees on quotas. Somebody has to look through that. And if it comes down to, I don't meet my quota this week, I may get fired, and they pull your claim at the end of the week, and that's the end of the pay period, your claim might end up in the VA cloud. My suggestion, go through all your evidence, take out exactly what you need for each claim condition, and make sure the evidence can prove service connection based on what? The regulations and the laws of the VA. With that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and as always, share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you.